Hello and welcome back to the Ghost of Alcantra. We don't have too many leads yet in either of our mysteries, but let's see if we can find out something more today. June 9th, 1987. I had trouble sleeping last night. I was thinking of Alexandria and what she was hiding from me. Was she just weird, or was I being used? This wasn't the sort of girl trouble I was used to. She told me I could let Uncle Kyle in on the details of her investigation thoughts, and I planned to do so. I'm an idiot and self-reflective to the point of making poor decisions if left to my own devices. Relatives can be nosy and overprotective, but I could count on mine. I came down to breakfast and the rest of my family was already there. Mom was cheerfully adding as many fruits as possible into her cereal, Dad was trying this new healthy oatmeal his doctor had advised, and Uncle Kyle was still looking like the entire world's supply of coffee wouldn't be sufficient to get him through the day. He was grumbling something to my father, who was pretending to listen while he gagged down his oatmeal. Oh dear. I joined them at the table. Do you even like your job? Uncle Kyle thought about it seriously. No, not really. Why don't you quit then? Uncle Kyle looked up from his coffee at this sudden revelation. I hadn't thought of that. I guess that's something people do, huh? He went back to his staring contest with his coffee, this time with a more thoughtful look. I can't do anything else anyway. I figured I better not depress him anymore. I cleared my throat. Actually, I was wondering if I could have a family meeting for some advice, from all three of you if possible. Really, we're involving everyone? Okay. I guess if we told the uncle, he might tell the parents anyway, but okay. Of course, honey. We're so glad you're willing to talk with us. Not many teenage sons are. So moody and secretive. Even me? Uncle Kyle looked like he didn't want to be any part of this. Especially you. I told them about Alexandria. I told them how we had met and how she wouldn't tell me certain things like her last name, the deal she proposed, and her thoughts about the investigation. Oh, I thought we would just tell them that last part, and not really about her. Okay. I told them my suspicions and how I felt she might have been hiding things. I was still planning on hanging out with her, but I don't know. I wanted to make sure I wasn't being stupid about all this. I guess I'm asking for permission, as stupid as that sounds. Okay, I mean, if you have doubts, then yeah, that's good to confide in your parents, sure. My father looked a little grim. I don't know, that does sound suspicious. Maybe we should be a little cautious about all this. Absolute nonsense, Howard. Don't listen to him, Nick. I think this Alexandria sounds lovely. Of course you do. You'd say that if Nick was seeing a vampire, Gardelia. You're just happy this is about a girl. Who doesn't tell you their last name? It could be a wonderfully nice vampire, Howard. Okay. What a terrible thing to say, discriminating because of who someone is. Everyone has secrets. She might just not like the sound of her last name, or maybe her parents are going through a divorce. Leave it to my parents to miss the point. I looked at Uncle Kyle. Any thoughts? Uncle Kyle gave me a contemplating look. I'm mostly impressed. I don't think you need to worry about seeing her. I think she's a bright girl who made a very plausible account for why one of the Thorns did it. The investigation details aren't public, but it's not like it would be all that difficult to figure out what she did if you asked around. Obviously she has connections around town, so she's hiding knowledge about that. but there could be all sorts of reasons for why she's doing that. And it's not like she can achieve anything malicious with this deal. She could stay out of the Thorn's way, but if she does that, what's the worst that could happen? Uncle Kyle leaned back in his seat, thinking. She'd be interested to know that I'm in agreement with her regarding the Thorns. It's more an issue of gathering evidence for their guilt. Make no mistake, we're trying to get interviews with the Thorn family, but it's pretty hard to do that. They're a secretive and powerful family. We're just finally getting interviews with their working staff. I could almost imagine Alexandria's smug "told you so" look. Not that I ever doubted her deductive reasoning skills. And don't worry, we're considering the possibility the killer isn't done yet. He sighed. I kind of hope that the Thorns aren't involved. It would be a lot easier if they weren't. If this is a full-on operation by the family, there's not much I can do. Wow. It would take a whole city team to get to the bottom of it, given how much corruption could be involved, and it seems like the whole town works for them. That aside, I think she's fine to hang out with you, and you can tell her that I appreciate her insight. He gave a tired smile. Probably would make a much better detective than myself. Well, at the very least, she'd probably like the job more. That's a very low bar. My parents had been arguing while Uncle Kyle and I talked, but they chimed in. Honey, you know where I stand. You know where your mother stands. That's where I have to stand too. My father smiled at me. But we'd be happy to meet her sometime. If she's duping you, she might get it past you, but she ain't getting it past us. That's right, you bring her on over. You are exactly the type we need to keep her away from. She's kind of shy, you know. I felt better about the situation. I was probably worried for nothing. She was mysterious, but the acceptable kind. The I want to know more about her type of mysterious, rather than the damn, she might kill me type of mysterious. My first girlfriend, Charlotte, was one of the latter types. We don't talk about Charlotte. Noted. That said, I wasn't done yet asking for consultation yet. Okay. I was contractually obliged as a member of the Walbert and Terence Nick friend trio to report back about all things girls, even though this wasn't at the pursuing a romantic relationship phase. There were some things you had to update the boys about. Yeah, I mean, assuming you also don't have too many, news around here? Sure. I called up Walberton first. What's up? Girl talk. Where we meeting up, dude? I called Terence next. Something up? Girl talk. He gave an exasperated grunt. Jenny will never love him. Can't he get that through his thick skull? Walberton had a crush on Jenny, my neighbor. She's on the basketball team, and I think he fell in love the first time he saw her drop 24-12-8 in middle school. Sadly, his feelings were unrequited, but I think Walberton preferred it that way. Okay. Everyone in this town, so funny. I'd rather she focus on basketball, he said one time, and I'd never forgive her if she settled for someone as pathetic as me another time. He insisted that was a reasonable position to hold. No, actually, it's for me. For you? And I thought you were done with girls after Jennifer. I'll be there. We met up at the local park. It was pretty close to the canal, with a spectacular slide set that kids liked to play on. Everyone ignored the swings because of that, which is where we met up. There was something about swings that made it easier to talk. I started swinging away, while Warburton got to business. Okay, brother, spill the details. We're all ears and ready for dissection and consultation. Let me first clarify that this isn't romantic. Terence scoffed. Then why are we here? I ignored him. I then told them about Alexandria, the same things I told my parents. Warburton nodded sagely every once in a while, and Terence looked more and more skeptical as I went on. Warburton jumped up dramatically the second I stopped talking. This is wonderful. It's about damn time you got over Jennifer. I have a feeling Alexandria be good for you. You'll help her become more confident, and she'll help you become less of a dumbass. I think he meant well, but Warburton could get carried away sometimes. He was simultaneously a jock and a poet, and not very good at being either. I'm a dumbass then? Yes, sir, indeed you are. A noble, wonderful dumbass, but one nonetheless. You're naive and idealistic. You think people should understand one another and help each other out while being completely blind to the harshness of reality. Terence and I, well, you're used to us. We don't swear you anymore, but this Alexandria, I can see it now. She'll get through to you. You'll show her the world, and she'll show you how it works. Warburton always gave me a positive interpretation for everything, which I appreciated since he always made you feel better. I turned to Terence. It was time for a healthy dose of pessimism as well. So that's how they balance each other out? Not bad. Well, she's using you, dude. Oh, shut the fuck up, Terence. You don't know what you're talking about. As if your clouded mind could know anything about couples. We aren't a couple. Warburton waved his hands dismissively. Couple, not a couple, friends, lovers, married, whatever. I hate labels. Just verbiage we use to fill gaps that can't be spoken about, but only felt. Why, it's sort of like Jenny and I. I turned to Terence before Warburton could continue his tirade. Please elaborate. It's just too convenient. You meet this weird girl at the festival, and you just happen to meet again the next day, and she proposes this strange deal. Then it turns out she actually knows things about the town when she said she was visiting. Open your eyes, man. Something is up with her. I agreed to a certain extent, but Warburton jumped in my defense before I could respond. She's trying to be his friend. Why do you have to be so negative? Terence shrugged Warburton's rebukes off. Well, he wanted my thoughts, and I gave them. I'll leave you with this. At least consider the possibility she's using you. If she is involved with the murder somehow, she might be using you to get details on the investigation. You know, Detective Rage being your uncle and all that. You and Warburton are such believers in humanity, but not all of us are like you two. I'll keep it in mind. Uncle Kyle doesn't tell me details about the investigations anyway. I've got nothing to leak. I decided it would be best if I stopped eavesdropping to keep true to my word. I thought that was a good place to end things. It went about as I expected, but I valued both of their opinions. Yeah, they can both have a point. We don't really know right now either way. And yeah, I was about to counter his point with he doesn't have any information to leak, but yeah, she pretty much knew most things that we had heard. Well, I appreciate the thoughts, boys. Maybe you'll meet her soon enough. Looking forward to it. Warburton came over and put an arm over my shoulder. You're not dating yet, fine. It's not romantic yet, fine. But be serious with me, dude. You at least a little interested? I rolled my eyes. He never gives up. I'm a little interested. Wilbert nodded approvingly. Good. Okay. June 10th, 1987. Having gained the metaphorical blessing from my friends and family, I went to see if Alexandria was at our usual meeting place. I even showed up half an hour earlier than the last couple of times we met, but she was already there, sitting in the gazebo with her signature regal posture. You know, it'd be easier to make arrangements to hang out if we exchanged phone numbers. Even your place has a phone, right? That way we wouldn't have to make arrangements before we left every time. Of course we have a phone. Great. Could you give me the number? Or if you're still in your secretive phase, I can give you mine. She made a face. It's not a face, it's an identity. And you most definitely cannot call my place, under any circumstances. It's a matter of life and death. Oh, okay. What kind of place are you living in? Okay, let's pretend that's true. You're welcome to have mine. I am not at liberty to be making phone calls from my place at this time. You grounded or what? In a manner of speaking. What's that supposed to mean? Like I said, a girl has her secrets, I know. I set myself in resignation on the bench under the gazebo. Even having my worries addressed by others, I still couldn't help feeling that there was something a little off about dealing with her. How many of these secrets could she have? Infinite amounts, I'm sure. You're a mystery, you know that? I try my best. Before I forgot, I told Alexandria about what Uncle Kyle thought about her deductions. She gave a look of triumph. She followed it up by hissing at me when I told her that Uncle Kyle seemed to think that both Thorns were in on it. What are you, a cat? No, according to you, I'm a princess. That can't be right. It's gotta be Vlad. Uncle Kyle considered the possibility, but it looks like he's still leaning towards the whole thing being a family operation. She shrugged dismissively. I guess, but Vlad will be the new head soon, and he doesn't need his father's help to pull something like this off. She pointed a finger dramatically at me. You can bet that Vlad's the killer. You tell your uncle that. I was learning that sometimes I just better roll with her. I'll let him know. Anyways, we had a different agenda than murder today. But you're off the clock from detective duty. No Sherlocking today. I got up and pointed at my bike. I promised to take you to Walmart after all. I tried to get us on our way, but Alexandria was mortified at the idea of riding double on my bike, we all did it around here, by standing on the peg in the back. I'm certain that's a violation of very reasonable traffic laws. Relax, it'll be fine. Unless you want to walk. Just warning you, it's across town, and I'm not sure a princess like you could handle the walk. I thought she was the type to bite on provocation, but she exhibited surprising maturity. She stepped onto the peg on the back of my bike and nodded towards the handlebars. Whatever you say, Nick. We then headed off. She muttered rather unflattering things about me as I turned corners. Berated me as I went up hills, and became quite religious when we went down them, but we managed to get to Walmart. When it was over, she smiled at me. That was a blast. I had been preparing for Alexandria to faint on the spot when we entered Walmart and had to deal with a crowd, but she always found new ways to surprise me. When we entered, with me fretting and fussing over her, she took a look around the place, did a quick 360 and then turned to look at me. "This is wonderful." I looked at her skeptically. "Coffee shops are scary, but Walmart is fine?" "It's the personal stuff that gets me on edge. You know, one-on-one type of stuff, like ordering coffee at the cafe. But this, watching mindless consumerism encouraged by corporate whims, this is how it should be. Nobody cares about me here, just as the world intended." What the fuck? So she really doesn't belong in a small town and more in the big city where you can be kind of anonymous, right? Because I kind of feel that. She laughed and headed off to the shelves. She grabbed notebooks, writing stuff, new novels, some magazines, and a strange litany of cleaning tools. I guess she really was rich. My mother would be thrilled. She was a girl and rich. She'd arrange the marriage as soon as she heard the news. "You can never be too prepared for home disasters." "There is no way you clean." "Well, that's very progressive of you, Nick. I'm glad you're open-minded." "How are we going to carry all of this on a bike?" "Instead of complaining, can't you make yourself useful and push the cart?" Making myself useful also included carrying the bags, and there were a lot of them. That left us the predicament of how we were going to get back. It looked like I'd have to hold the bags while Alexandria rode the bike. She told me she didn't really ride bikes. "We'll never survive." "Nonsense. I get carried away, but we'll be fine." "Well, there are worse ways to die. I'm down." It all turned out okay. We only fell over twice. I didn't think ahead to how she was going to carry the bags when we returned, but when we returned to the gazebo, she promptly took them from me with little issue. If she could carry them no problem, then why had I been the pack mule? Perhaps Terence was right. Maybe she was more cunning than I thought. "Thank you, Nick, for putting up with me. I really appreciate it and had a lot of fun." I didn't know how to respond to the sudden formality, but I just gave a "sure, no problem." She had a sort of barbed, teasing personality, but she really was a nice person. And deceptively strong too. She went on her way with her bags and yelled back, "Don't underestimate us princess types." I guess I better not. That kicked off a 2-week routine I had with Alexandria. We would meet at the gazebo on the canal front and then either talk about the investigation or go and explore Alcantra. It was 2 weeks of walking, talking, eating, and arguing. I would never admit this to her because she could be kind of smug sometimes, but that's pretty much the best way to spend 2 weeks. One time we went on a hike on the trailways in the center of Alcantra. Randomly, while I was catching my breath, she asked me, "How do I keep my end of the bargain? I've already solved the murder." I burst out laughing. "Oh, have you now?" She seemed a little hurt. I used the opportunity to backpedal into something I'd been meaning to ask her about. I felt we were close enough that I could be upfront about what was on my mind. "Alexandria, be honest with me. Was that deal you proposed just an excuse to see Alcantra, or is there something more to you?" I took a deep breath and collected myself before continuing. "You're not using me, are you?" Silence lingered in the air between us. She hesitated before walking up to me. My pulse quickened a bit. I reassured myself my breathlessness was from the hike up the hill. "You're right to be suspicious. I know things about me are off. You deserve some answers. So, here they are. In order of your questions, yes, yes, and maybe." I had to think back to my questions. So the deal was an excuse. There was something more to her, and she was maybe using me? What does it mean to maybe use someone? She smiled a little mysteriously. We all use each other, right? I don't think the idea is as malicious as we often think. We rely on other people to get through each day. So, depending on what you mean, I might be using you. I might not be. Can I get a straight answer? Is that not a straight answer? No. She laughed at that. Well then, you can't get a straight answer now, but you'll get one soon. She stuck her hand out again. So, let's make another deal. We keep doing what we're doing, and I'll give you a straight answer soon. I'm a little worried about what your idea of soon might be. Nonetheless, I shook her hand. That was probably as straightforward as it was going to get with her. She was a mystery, but I hoped that one day she trusted me enough to tell me about herself. Realizing we had been shaking hands for a while, I cleared my throat and moved my hand. Well, I know of a way to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. See Alcantra and think about the murder. How about we meet one of our suspects? Which one? It just so happens that one of the suspects is a very talkative lady who gets along very well with all her customers. You mean the bar lady? I mean the bar lady. There's no way Delilah Loving-Smith is involved in any murders, and we could eat at the Classy Jack. Their shtick is they're a bar that serves pancakes from noon to midnight. Oh, fantastic. We can go whenever. You can deduce over some flapjacks whether or not you think she's a murderer. I paused, then added. I'm also curious to see your deductive skills on personality. I get the feeling you'd be pretty good at it. You bet I am. I can read you like a book, and I've read a lot of them. I rolled my eyes. That's so. And what have you figured out about me? Then I groaned. Unless it's a secret. She laughed. You're catching on now. She turned to go down the hill we were on. Classy Jack, huh? It's a date then. That made my heart skip a beat. Dates? Us? Was that the word to use? A couple of days later, we headed towards the Classy Jack. The Classy Jack is a dainty little joint past the eastern edge of town. Our so-called date at the Classy Jack started about how I expected it to. She was all bravado and bluster till we sat down at the bar. Is that her? Do you see her arms? She could definitely have killed someone. Oh, shut up, she's super nice, just watch. Thankfully, Miss Loving-Smith was such an easy conversation partner that even Alexandria had no problem talking with her. Sorry. I introduced Alexandria as someone who was visiting the town, and Miss Loving-Smith took it from there. Before I knew it, we had some pancakes in front of us, and Miss Loving-Smith was ranting about anything and everything to Alexandria. Can you believe that Detective Rage is sending his nephew to spy on me now? I already answered all of his questions. I ain't never told a lie in my life. Now, Missy, you watch yourself around this young man. Men, you can't trust them. Oh, you bet I will, Miss Loving-Smith, but don't worry. Nick is a good guy. I kept quiet and focused on my pancakes. There are some topics you don't butt in on. A few drinks in for our talkative bartender, and she was spilling her lifelong struggles to Alexandria. And to my surprise, Alexandria was giving her advice. Then I realized I've been flipping pancakes for 20 years. Am I going to die a pancake flipper? Don't get me wrong, I love what I do. I just don't think it's what I was meant to do. Like, I'm missing out on my calling. I don't think there's anything we're meant to do, ma'am. None of us have predetermined purposes. We exist, and any purpose for all this is something we have to create for ourselves. Your purpose is to make pancakes only if you want that to be your purpose. Is there something you want to do with your life? Well, it sounds silly, but I think I just wanted people around me to be happy. Things weren't easy growing up, and I know the value of being able to smile. You don't think making pancakes would bring smiles to the people around you? She thought about that. You're right, Alexandria. You're damn right. Ain't nothing I love more about this job than seeing people smile. It's a damn good life I'm living now. Where was all this wisdom coming from? I'm glad she was having a good time, but I felt like the third wheel in a self-proclaimed date. I moodily ate my 10th pancake. Wow. Okay. Don't get a stomachache. Miss Loving-Smith sent us, or at least Alexandria, off with an enormous amount of take-home pancakes with a long list of promises to Alexandria about all the things they needed to talk about. You best appreciate her, Mr. Fox. She's a gem. Smart and pretty. She's a catch. She went back inside, praising Alexandria to a random dude at the bar. Alexandria smugly turned to me, her eyes sparkling. You hear that, Mr. Fox? I'm a catch. She laughed before I could respond. Sorry. But hey, I'm pretty good at this detective thing. We should check down another suspect for me to analyze. What detective work? You guys talked about her midlife crisis. Shows how little you know. I was figuring her out. No way she's the murderer. I could have told you that. She ignored me. She's just too open. She has nothing to hide because she spilled everything to me. It takes a level of bluffing she's not capable of to be like her and be a murderer. You could say she's a nice person. Alexandria returned a patented eye roll back at me. Murderers can be nice people, you know. I thought that was a little contradictory, but I'm not the self-proclaimed expert on murder. Yeah, sadly, some things that you hear about some people, that they seemed nice, and then the truth came out. Our next target was Miss Beryl Johnson, given that we couldn't really arrange to meet either Elga or Vlade Thorne, and I had no idea how to meet the old retired professor without asking my uncle, and he would definitely not approve of us doing our own detective work. Fortunately, there were a series of public talks going on now about the tourism proposal, and Mrs. Johnson was going to be giving one downtown. Alexandria and I jumped on the opportunity. It was a surprisingly large crowd. I hadn't realized just how many people cared about this whole thing. I was nodding off minutes into her speech, since the whole thing seemed kind of boring, but Alexandria remained hyper-focused the whole time. When I glanced over at her, she had a pretty substantial frown. After the talk, I asked her, "Well, what did you think?" She paused to think about it. I'm still pretty sure Vlade did it, but Mrs. Johnson's character makes her suspicious. Unlike Miss Loving-Smith, she's willing to lie to get what she wants. She was lying during her talk? That's bold of her. Well, she didn't outright lie, but she wasn't very good at telling the truth. She was spinning narratives and not backing them up with anything. She looked at me with a smug little look, reveling in explaining things to me. I'm not pro or anti-tourism proposal or anything, but not one of her points had anything to do with the pros or cons of the proposal. It was basically mudslinging the Thorns, who admittedly deserve it, and propping up the traditional values of town. Don't get me wrong, there's obvious detriments to the tourism proposal, but she didn't really discuss any of the substantive ones, and nor did she address how they outweigh potential benefits. It was all manipulative, emotional appeals. She's a typical politician, and politicians are capable of murder. Honestly, sounds like sound reasoning, sadly. Since when are you an expert on Alcantra politics? She gave me a look. Unlike you, I actually did some research on the proposal. She got me there. So you think Mrs. Johnson is capable of murder just from her being a stereotypical politician? Well, I wouldn't go that far. I don't think she did it, but she's definitely a snake, someone who'd say anything to get what they want. That tracks. She did have an affair with Mrs. Reddick's husband after all. Between doing detective work and dates, before I knew it, 2 weeks had passed with her. On the 25th, we did something a little different. We met at our usual spot, but we met at night this time. Given how close it was to the solstice, it was pretty late before it got dark. Thankfully, the farther away we got from the date of the murder, the more lax my parents got about the situation. They didn't mind me staying out late. My mother was far more concerned about getting details about Alexandria from me. What could I say about Alexandria? Quite a lot now. In many ways, she was still a mystery. I didn't know a lot about her. Her last name, where she was from, where she stayed at now, what her family was like, what she wanted to do. I didn't know any of those things. But over these last couple of weeks, I learned plenty about her as well. She was shy at initial meetings, but heated up quite quickly if you teased her. She could always respond to a verbal jab with a sharper and wittier one. She liked to pretend that she was hot stuff, that she was the smartest, bravest, most charming person around. Then there was the way she ended all of our meetings. She'd thank me for whatever we did and say how much she appreciated it. She put on a front all the time, but I could tell she was being genuine when we parted. There was something about the way she said it, but it seemed like she savored every moment, like she knew that nothing could last forever. Warburton had asked me if I was interested, and I sort of sarcastically told him I was a little interested. That wasn't a lie, but I was a lot more interested now. Of course, there were the mysterious parts of her I'd like to know about, but more than that, when Alexandria got to be the person she wanted to be, the person who could say what she wanted and do what she wanted without having whatever it was in her life holding her back from it, I wanted to be there to see it. I wanted to be at her side when that happened. I didn't think I was in love or anything. I just wanted to be a part of her life. But when life opened up for her and I wasn't the only one in her world, when that happened, and if she still wanted to talk, laugh and tease me, well... I followed behind her a couple of steps as we walked along the canal front, the water to our left and the stars shining above. We walked mostly in silence. The stillness in the air was too clear and the night sky too beautiful to say much. The water to our left had a calm that we embraced, and the road to our right had an openness we hadn't explored yet. The night sky had brought us together after all. Would it bring us closer now? This went on for a little longer before Alexandria broke the silence. "Hey Nick, can I tell you something?" I gulped. "Yeah, of course." "I told you this when we first met, and I sometimes joke about it, but I really have been lonely most of my life. You really are my first friend. I've never really had the opportunity to make friends, and there's a reason for that." I tried to think of something to say, and in the ensuing silence she turned around and faced me. It was dark, but the stars were bright enough that I could see her face. Her face shined determinedly. I told you I would give you a straight answer to your questions soon. I've been unfair with all my secrets. You deserve to know who I am. Her face still shone, but I don't think it was just the work of the starlight. Could we meet tomorrow? At a different spot than usual. About a half-mile west of here, there's an outlook near some cliffs past the trail. You know the spot? Let's meet there. She looked right in my eyes. I'll tell you about me then. She took a step back. My heart slowed down in relief. I hadn't even noticed it had been racing. Sorry about the location and timing. See you later, Nick. With that, she took off, leaving me to fill the gaps about what she could want to tell me. Feeling a little overwhelmed, I sat down by the water. The canal in front of me, the sea of stars above me, and an ocean of possibilities before me. I had a lot to think about. Oh, teenagers. June 26th, 1987. The next morning I called up Warburton and told him what Alexandria had asked me. I wanted his advice to try and figure out how I felt, but I think I gave him the wrong idea. Dude, don't be stupid. You know it's going to be a confession. You think? I guess she's the old-fashioned type. Honestly, I agree with her. The mood has to be right for these sort of things. You can't tell someone you like them at a gas station. She's got the right idea. Sunset on a cliff? Now that's romantic. Maybe she just wants to push me off the cliff if I say no. Are you going to say no? I don't know. I don't think she's going to ask me out. Listen, man, you can't be wishy-washy. It'll just mess up things between you. Best to be clear on where you stand. It's a simple question. Do you like her? Of course I like her. Stop playing dumb. Do we gotta be grade schoolers again? Do you like her? That's not a simple question. God, you're impossible. There a reason you're hesitant? Well, it's just, we barely know each other. It's been just a little over 2 weeks. 2 weeks can be an eternity for love, man. There ain't a time-based diagnostic for when it's the right time to tell someone you have feelings for them. He's not wrong. I know, but with her, I don't know, it feels rushed. Rushed how? I'm probably the first dude in her life. The way she makes it sound, she might have been locked up in a convent or somewhere. I sighed. I don't know how to explain it. It's like I'm taking advantage of being the first guy in her life. If she had a normal upbringing, she'd probably think differently of the situation. But she probably didn't have a normal upbringing. Someone has to be the first dude in her life. I don't think it's your right to tell her how she ought to feel. If she likes you, she likes you. That's all there is to it. He paused before continuing more gently. I won't tell you what to do, it's your life. But don't idealize love too much. It's not the sort of thing you can make a guidebook about. If you think you two can handle the messiness of giving her an unclear answer, you do that. That's good advice. Thanks, man. I appreciate you talking with me about it. No problem. Good luck, and try not to screw it up too much. I hung up. I still had most of the day before the meeting, which was much too long for my strained nerves and racing mind. Why was I so nervous? She was just going to tell me what she had been hiding from me. I guess I was afraid of knowing what that was. At Alexandria's insistence, I had finished Pride and Prejudice, and I was now supposed to be reading Dune. I stared at my wall and tried to work my way through Dune, which really wasn't the sort of book you could get through when your thoughts were elsewhere. I ate a half-hearted dinner while my mom and dad pestered me into why I seemed so despondent. Their conclusion? It's Alexandria. Gotta be. Oh, shut up. I left early so I could go to our meeting place by foot. It would be quite a long walk given the remoteness of the location. I knew one thing for certain: no matter what she told me, I still wanted to be part of her life. No matter what happened, I tried to remain friends, to be real friends, and, well, to be potentially more than friends, we'd have to be honest with each other. Did I really know her? No, I didn't. Did she really know me? Maybe a little more than I knew her, but probably not all that well. We were still at the phase where most of our closeness was chemistry, banter, and the growing sense of familiarity. I wanted just a little bit more. Feeling more confident about the situation, I continued on my way. It had been a scorcher today, but the sun was finally beginning to go down. I walked off the side of the highway that led out of Alcantra and onto the path that would lead me to the cliffside where I'd meet Alexandria. I braced myself for what was to come. At the end of the path, there was a clearing by the cliffs, and Alexandria stood facing the open end of that cliff, looking into the sunset. It gave her an angelic look, like she was about to join the sun in its descent, leaving the night in her wake. As I got closer, she must have sensed my presence and turned around with a small, sad smile on her face. Thanks for coming, Nick. Sorry it was so out of the way. I really wanted a remote location, somewhere we wouldn't be heard. Yeah, no problem. Somewhere we wouldn't be heard. Oh boy. She looked at me head on. I'm serious about you, Nick. Uh-oh, was Warburton right? Had I misread the situation? Was she actually going to confess? I tensed up. I really want to be friends. Well. Friends? We're already friends. Did I psych myself up for no reason? Am I getting friend-zoned? She continued on. I realize I haven't been very open with you. I don't know much about friends, but I know they don't hide the things I've hidden from you. She took a step closer to me. Today marks the day that I stopped doing that. Maybe these past 2 weeks were nothing to you, but they were everything to me. I have never smiled like I have recently, laughed like I have recently, and you're the one who brought those smiles to my face, the laughter into my life. You should know about me. She took a pause. That was heavier than I expected. Had her life really been that tough? This was still a confession, but maybe it just wasn't the type of confession I was expecting. I was scared to do this because it risked ruining what I had just gotten, but I knew I had to take the chance. These past 2 weeks, I don't just want them to continue. She took another step toward me. We were close enough that we could reach out and touch each other now. I want more. I held my breath. What I'm about to tell you, you can't tell anyone else. No one. Not your friends, not your family. It stays between you and me. I nodded. And what I tell you, it places both you and I at risk. What I'm doing is probably wrong. I shouldn't be putting you in danger, but at this point, I know that I can't keep this a secret anymore. Do you still want to know? The atmosphere was getting heavy. I didn't realize there had been stakes to our situation. I tried to lighten the mood. How much of a risk are we talking about? Alexandria wasn't having any of it. A lot. The sun was starting to dip below the horizon. I want to hear it, and I promise I won't tell anyone. She nodded. Thank you. She took a deep breath. It's a long story, but I'll try to give you the short version. But let's start with this. She took a hop back and gave an elegant curtsy. I never properly introduced myself. My name is Alexandria Thorne. Not the surprise, I think. That was the first guess I kind of had, aside from the ghost, sorry. I just stared at her dumbfounded. She couldn't mean... By Thorne, you mean... Yes, the Thornes of Alcantra. Rich, influential, and corrupt family with a large mansion in the southwest part of town. I'm supposedly the daughter of Elga and Yena Thorne, though Yena died shortly after I was born. Blade is my older brother. She laughed hollowly. I tried to muster something to say. But how could... I've been here all my life. I never heard anything about the Thornes having a daughter. Yeah, that was the only reason why we thought maybe she isn't. Because that's ridiculous, hiding a daughter for so many years. She looked at me sadly. No, you wouldn't. Like I said, it's a long story, and I'd better start from the beginning. I was still trying to process what she had told me, but she began her explanation. The Thorne family basically founded this town in 1851 after picking the spot out for its potential in copper mining. The head then was Alistair Thorne, and of course you know the story about him and Alcantra. Unfortunately for him, his personal tragedies weren't over even with Alcantra's death. He and Alcantra had 3 sons. He assigned the headship to a second son, whom he deemed best suited for it. The older and youngest son didn't take the news well. They concocted a plot to murder the middle brother, which was discovered by Alistair. He disinherited them and kicked them out of the family. Greatly disturbed by the behavior of his sons, Alistair gave a decree to the middle one. He made a family rule that the head of the Thorne family was to have only 1 child, so that there wouldn't be a problem of succession of the headship again. That's the consequence you get from that? And if you have only 1 child and that one is a dickhead, then you just live with that? I don't know. Alistair gave up headship to his son in 1888, and the rule stuck for 4 more heirs. You can look into Old Town records to see that the Thorne family only ever has 1 child to avoid succession issues. Also, 1 child? What if that 1 child passes away for whatever reason? Then you have no successor? Well, that continued for a while. That leads us to my father and mother, Elga and Yena Thorne. They had my brother Blade in the winter of 1964, so he's 23 now. He was raised and trained as the successor to my father. In a couple of years, my father will step down and Blade will assume headship of the family. But in 1969, the Thorne rule about only having 1 child was broken. I was born. Something wasn't adding up about this. But then, how could nobody have heard about you? They can't have kept you locked up, could they? She gave a dark look reminiscent of the venomous look she had shown me when we had talked about the Thornes previously. I was locked up for 18 years. I couldn't believe what I had just heard. I sat back at her in shock. It took me a couple of moments to compose myself to say something. They really hid your existence for 18 years just because of some stupid rule? Who cares about it anyway? The town wouldn't care. I bet hardly anyone even knows the Thorns have a rule about only having one kid. She gave a dry laugh. Oh, sorry. No, of course not. That's just what my father tells me. I gave that introduction so you could know how my father justified what he had done to me. Her face grew dark again. Tell me, Nick, do you really think Yena Thorn is my mother? I could see where she was going with this. You think your dad had an affair? Yes, I've pondered this a long time. My dad almost certainly had an affair with someone and had a child with them. Shortly after, my mother dies of some sort of mysterious illness. Even you can figure this one out, Nick. Don't be naive. She pulled up her fists. Here's a summary. The Thorn family only has one kid to avoid succession problems. My dad has an affair with another woman and has a child with her. He doesn't want to give up the kid and doesn't like his wife, so he kills his wife and takes the kid into his family. He hides her existence so that people won't know of his infidelity. I interrupted her. That's crazy. Why would he have to do that? Couldn't he just pretend you were the kid of his wife? Why would he need to hide you? People would be able to figure it out. My mother wasn't pregnant with me and presumably still showed up around town. If the Thorns suddenly had a kid, they knew it wasn't from Yena Thorn. As for adoption, no one would believe that given the succession rule, they'd figure out that was an excuse. Oh yeah. My father must realize that I don't believe I'm Yena Thorn's daughter, but he still refuses to come clean with me. Your father would really lock you up your whole life so that people wouldn't know he had an affair? Not only that, he locked me up to hide the evidence that he killed his wife because of an affair. I didn't even know what to say. How could someone be that horrible? It was hard for me to grasp the lack of empathy necessary to hide someone's existence, to hide your mistakes. Then why even take in the child? And what about her birth mother then? Strange, very strange. Let me tell you about me now. I really am a lonely girl with no friends. I wasn't hiding that. I grew up in the Thorn mansion, and the farthest I could go from it was the surrounding land we owned behind the mansion, the parts you can't see from the front gate. Of course, I was always monitored, but despite the fact that I wasn't going to be the head, I was raised like I was a Thorn. Table manners, dignity, all that stupid stuff. I was worried when you called me princess, because I thought you might have figured it out. I guess I really couldn't hide that part of me. No, she really couldn't. It was terrible that she had to try in the first place. The people who know about me are my father, my brother, and the staff of the family. Our staff are sworn to secrecy. It's part of the reason it's so hard for your uncle to get interviews with the staff of the Thorns. To work for the Thorns means getting paid a lot, but it also means hiding a lot too. Even so, I consider most of the staff to be family. They've been very kind to me. Though it's probably because my father probably threatened them, so they might not have had any other choice than to be kind to me. I shook my head sadly. I lived 15 minutes away from the Thorn mansion. It was crazy to think that this was all happening so close to me. So, for 18 years, I lived in the Thorn mansion and grounds. I've never had any personal freedom. Until recently. You see, on the 30th of May, my father had a change of heart. He asked to see me. When I met with him, he told me that he was going to let me go outside the Thorn Mansion on the grounds that I keep quiet about who I am. I accepted his terms. I was able to leave the Thorn Mansion for the first time on June 6th. I met you at the summer festival, and you know the rest. That leads us to now. She looked at me. You can see why I told you that, knowing this was dangerous. I'm sorry for telling you. It's selfish of me. I was struggling with my own emotions. I didn't know how to feel. There was a braver, kinder side of me that wanted to jump to reassure her that I was glad I knew, and that I didn't care and that I wanted her in my life anyway. Then there was a side that harbored suspicion. I had to ask more. Then what was with you and your deductions? I'm the daughter of Elgar Thorn. I simply asked the staff to find out as much as possible about the investigation. If a Thorn asks for something, they get it. So I got plenty of info. I made my deductions from that. There was nothing more to it than that. So you're accusing your own brother? I am. I'm certain that Blade killed Marina Radic. You see, I know my father has killed already, but he's not capable of it anymore. The brother of Blade, he isn't what the public thinks he is. What he shows to others is a mask. He's perfectly capable of murder. Only a Thorn would have something to gain from killing Marina Radic, and Blade is the only one who could kill right now. That's why I think Blade is the murderer. That's not much for reasoning. She shrugged. I told you that I'm not perfect. I still had so much I wanted to ask. I didn't even know where to get started. I had been too scared to ask her what I really wanted to know, and that was if she was part of the murder. She was a Thorn, and I knew what that meant. I remembered Terrence's words about Alexandria using me. I had thought her confession would alleviate all the doubts about her, but they only strengthened them. Alexandria, Stop. She stepped up close to me again. I know you must have a million questions about me, my family, the murders. I know you can't trust me yet. The Thorns don't deserve to be trusted. I know you can't trust a girl who asks you to keep quiet about her and who tells you her family are probably murderers. I know you can't trust me yet, but that's exactly why I told you all of this, so that eventually you could, and when that happens... She took another step towards me and whispered, Who knows? I tried again. Alexandria, Stop. This time she held out a hand towards my face in a stop sign gesture. I know you need time to think about this, and I want you to think about it. If you want to talk, meet me at our usual place at our usual time tomorrow, after you've come to a decision about me. If you don't show up, I'll just assume you don't want anything to do with me anymore. If you do show up, we'll talk about me and about us. I realized how terrible I was at knowing what I wanted. Alexandria was right. I needed time to think this over. If I just followed my heart, who knows what I would decide. My heart was a mess. I gave a big sigh. Okay. She nodded. Thank you for listening to me and agreeing. And please, please don't tell anyone about me. Even if you want nothing to do with me again, please don't tell anyone. For my sake, and for yours as well. I wasn't ready to tell anyone what I had just heard anyway. I nodded in return. I promise. Thank you, and I'm sorry. She took off sprinting. Maybe I could have followed and tried to catch her, but she had been so brave already today. She deserved this opportunity for cowardice. Knowing that I had an evening with my conflicted thoughts ahead of me, I I watched Alexandria's receding form disappear. Oh dear, heard a confession, so Alexandria's a thorn. What changes between her and Nick? I don't know, does anything change? But I think we're going to keep it here for today. There was one big reveal at least. I'm just thinking it is quite a feat to hide someone like that, but then again, if it's like a small town, it's the 80s, and you just pay your staff to shut up, I guess? But for 18 years and no one ever let anything slip? I find that hard to believe, but maybe no one really cared. And again, if he was to hide her, why couldn't he have just left her with her real birth mother if if her assumption is true. Very strange still. But yeah. That was it from me for today. As always, I'd appreciate your thoughts in the comments below. Did you think this was what she was keeping secret? Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye bye.